Time at X minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's the Rocket Hour. Y'all are now tuned in. Time to hit the pick four that you'd love to win. If your money's coming slow, step on the faster track with your host, Ricky Pasternak. Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rocket Hour. Listen, Ricky, you're laughing, you're smiling. I'm in a great mood. Do you know why?
It probably has nothing to do with what you just did a minute ago.
No, it does. It has everything to do with that.
Oh, I thought it was actually for another reason, but so I'll let you go first.
Listen, I still didn't have a room for the Travers for us. I was getting a little stressed. Everything's been booked. I look up 5 minutes before the Rocket Hour. There's a hotel available, so I got a hotel for the Travers. I'm pumped about this.
Well, okay, so we have to touch on two things. One, I don't know if we could say you were stressed because you said, "Oh, wait, I haven't looked since I got home." I feel like if you were stressed,
True,
that would be that would be false. The other thing is, I know you have your new podcast live stream, so I thought you were excited to be wearing your Jordan, Oklahoma polo shirt, which, by the way, is dashing. Good looking polo. You could wear that, I'm sure, to multiple events. You could probably bring that to the track as well. So I thought that's what you were excited about. But two things to be excited about, and we haven't even talked about a race yet.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it. I'm in shock that just happened. Jason Hommel said, funny thing happened last night. He got drunk and spent $1 million on a racehorse, and Dennis has to pay for half of it. We haven't heard from Dennis yet. We might after that comment. So, yeah, exciting day. We got the sports show coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern time, noon Central. Looking forward to that. But before we get into that, let's do what you and I are looking forward to the most. Saratoga today. We're doing the late pick four, obviously, as we do every day on this show. The late pick four at Saratoga today. Listen, let's just get right into it. We got a lot to talk about on these races. We kick it off with race 7. It's an allowance race for 3-year-olds going a mile and 1/8 on the turf. It's for fillies. And we've got a pretty strong field here. I thought this was a very tough race. By the way, the 5, the 6, and 7 are out. But as you can see, the rest of these horses are in. I thought this kicked off a pretty tough sequence, and I thought this was the toughest race in the sequence. Ricky, give us your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said. I thought this was probably the toughest of the 4, to be quite honest. These allowance optional claimers are really difficult just because there are a lot of stakes horses or have stakes experience and things of that sort. We did use your win bet, so I'll leave that to you like I always do because I always include usually your win bet. We're on the same page. I thought the 2 Magisterium for Orlando Noda was a little interesting. Actually got her to slightly improve off Clement or at least to run at a slightly higher level, which, Aaron, you'd be the first to tell me those types of trainers like a Clement, Pletcher, Brown, it's incredibly, incredibly tough to do. She ran at the 62.5 level at a claiming price, was taken out of there and claimed, and Orlando Noda got her to run 3rd at this level last time out. She went off at 10-1, which is probably, that you're dubious, right? You don't really know what you're going to get. But to be honest, she ran well enough that I thought it was going to be good here. We're going to get a rider upgrade as well. So I thought that horse made a lot of sense. She was my top choice, and she comes in at 6-1, kind of giving an indication of how tough this field is going to be. I thought the 9, a community adjusted, was interesting as well. It took her a while to break the maiden. There was another horse that took a while to break her maiden. I think it was maybe Gear Jockey. These horses that take a while, who I'm a fan of. I love Gear Jockey down in Kentucky and won at Saratoga, I think on opening weekend. These horses that take a while to break their maiden, especially at the maiden specialty level, I always kind of like. And I know we try to avoid those, and they maybe look at career maidens. I kind of like this one. By Summerfront, we know she can handle the distance. And her odds, maybe it's the Clement factor, she ran pretty well. She was 5 wide and it says mile bid. I rewatched that one to kind of confirm, and it was accurate. And I think this is a horse that, again, if we can scroll down so we can get to the bottom half of these horses here, I think that's a fair price. I don't mind 10-1 on a Clement runner at fair. The other horse, I used 2 more. I went 5 deep. The 10 Jordan's Leo. I wasn't really sure what to do with her, right? Because first start on the turf, but she's by Malibu Moon. So it kind of makes you question why Pletcher hadn't debuted her on the turf as of yet. Her worst loss was to Always Karina, which I don't really know what you want to make of that anymore. But the pedigree on both sides, Dam and Sire, makes sense. Pletcher obviously good there. And then the other horse, who I'll let you talk about the 11 because I think that's your top choice, I believe. Yeah, so I'll let you kind of walk through that one. But the 12, I thought Ali Diva was just interesting as well. Drayden Van Dyke is interesting, right? Because he went to Kentucky and he wasn't quite getting the meat, the rides there, but he did pretty well with this one. And then I think Tyler Gaffleone getting aboard, who was aboard in that maiden special weight victory in her first race going long, should help as well. So I just thought this was really, really tough. Obviously, I used your 11, who was 7-2, Town Avenger. So I'll let you talk about her, but I thought this was definitely the toughest race of the bunch.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think this has just got a lot of different types of horses, and I think you laid out some of them had trouble breaking their maidens, some of them are kind of up-and-comers, and that's why I went with number 11, Town Avenger, on top. I just kind of feel like this is the up-and-coming horse. Breaks the maiden at Churchill Downs, going 5.5 furlongs, stretch out to a mile last time out. Wasn't horrible, wasn't great, lost $150,000 stakes by 2 1/4, finished 4th in that one. But that Tepin Stakes was awfully tough. The horse is really bred, I think, to go a little bit longer than what she's been going. And I feel like Lynch has kind of built this horse up to a 1.125 today. I think he's found a pretty good spot. I don't think this is a stakes caliber type of allowance race, but I don't think it's weak either. I think it's right there in that middle. And I think that's what Town Avenger needs to be in. We're going to find out about this horse. The outside post really doesn't bother me because the horse likes to kind of drop back, make one run. So I think Javier Castellano will be able to save ground. And I see a little bit of speed in the race as well. I think it could set up well for the 11 Town Avenger to come running. It is a race, though. I'm with you. I would go deep. I used 4 horses here for a pick 4. I'll just talk about one that you didn't, and you kind of made, I believe on the number 9, you made the comment, it took a while for the horse to break the maiden. What about the number 3, Lysheen? This horse, it took forever for this horse to break the maiden as well, but finally got the job done and got it done over this turf course. And I think that's kind of an interesting point, right? It took a while. She gets a lot of seconds, a lot of thirds, finally gets it done over the Saratoga Inner. Maybe this is just a horse for course. Maybe the light bulb came on a little bit. Maybe it was the change to Jose Ortiz. Jumped aboard last time out on this horse and got the win immediately. He's back again. I thought she was worth using here as well. The best thing I could say here, go as deep as the budget allows, because I just think this is a wide open event.
Yeah, the only reason I chose the 9 over the 3 is because the 9 just beat the 3 not too long ago. That's really the main reason. You're right, though. Maybe if this is a true Jose Ortiz thing, where he's just, again, you like Junior Alvarado at Belmont. I don't think he was bad at Belmont, but I don't know what is going on here. I don't know if it's the bounce. I don't know if it's his riding. Maybe it's a combination. Maybe he's not getting, the right recipe, whatever. Maybe that was the difference. I do know that race where she beat Balacol and Angelou was not great in terms of the field. I don't know what the numbers are, the analytics, that type of stuff. It is pretty impressive, though, that she was running second, sixth at Tampa, comes to Belmont and looks much better. So credit Graham Motion. I mean, 1 for 9 now. What would you say this is in terms of rating this allowance optional claiming field 1 through 10? I'm with you. I'm probably about like a 6 in terms of like 10 is like the best and 1 is like, wow, these horses shouldn't really be at this level.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I don't know. I just couldn't get to the 3 because the 9 already beat the 3. if you're giving me the Jose Ortiz factor, I mean, I can't argue with it. So that's where I'm at.
The problem is the 3's also beating the 9. If you look 3 back, Lysine did actually finish ahead of the 9. I'm with you. I think it's more of like a 5. It's definitely not a field where I say, okay, we got stakes runners in this field, but all of them are pretty decent. And that's kind of what makes this race tough. They're all kind of right there. Even a couple that we haven't talked about, they're still kind of right there where they've got a shot. And that's what makes a really, really good betting race is you've got a lot of options. And you just kind of got to pick your angle. And like say for me with the 11, the angle was kind of the newer shooter to the bunch. A little bit, we don't really know how good she is. She might be just a little better than some of these horses that are going to be knocking around this allowance level, for a little while, I think. So I just kind of thought the projected improvement of the 11 was the way to go. But your angles here, you could pick them. There's really not one we're going to knock you for here. I mean, most of these horses, I would say maybe other than maybe the 8. I didn't really like the 8 because she's been beaten by a lot of these already. But the rest of them, they're in play here. There's no question about that.
Yeah, and the one final thing to add, if we talk about, and this is why I didn't go short in terms of your horse, Town Avenger, who I do think is going to be tough to beat. She's coming out of that Tepin Stakes where we saw Navratilova and Toby's Heart. Okay, remember the Churchill Downs runners? There were 3 of them. It was Demodog, Toby's Heart, and Navratilova. They were coming from Churchill Downs, and they were in the Lake George Stakes, which was the second weekend. That was the race where Technical Analysis won, and we kind of went on this theme of, wow, Chad Brown at a high price. We shouldn't want to leave that one off on the turf. None of those runners really ran well. I think Toby's Heart might have finished 3rd or 4th, but the other ones weren't good. Demodog, who I think Jared was interested in, and so was I. It's like if she finished 4th in that race and those horses came back and were horrible in the Lake George, which is much tougher, that's kind of where I was. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not really sure the 11 is a true stakes horse. And to your point, it's like a 5 or a 6 in terms of this rating scale that we just made up on the spot.
Yeah, that's a good thing about this show. We just make things up as we go, and that was a good one. I think, honestly, I think that is important because you can't, when these horses come out and they're in another race, you can't say, wow, whoever won this one won an allowance last time out, and now we're ready for the bigger time. It's like, yeah, maybe just caught a weak allowance. So it's good to keep that in mind. All right, let's go on to race number 8 here. Small field of 7, but I felt it was fairly competitive, like most allowance races for the New York breds are. $95,000 purse, going 7 furlongs for these New York breds. So big purse here. Fillies and mares in this one. Like I said, field of 7. I didn't think this was just completely straightforward here. Really curious to hear how you thought of this race.
So I really didn't know where to go here. And I didn't want to go deep because they're all going to be probably short prices, but I'll leave it to year 2. But I guess I'll skip. You know what? Let's switch this around because I have a few points. I'll let you go first here and talk about a few. I know I've been going first, but I want you to go first because there are a few points that I want to bring up, and I think it would be easier for you to go first.
Yep, sounds good. All right, I was between the 2 and the 6. I had the 6 to win last time out and was very happy, and I will play the 6 back here as far as a pick 4. The 6 Honey Money I'm talking about. This horse ran very, very well last time out. It's won 3 or 4 races. Ultimately, though, I did kind of land on the 2. I kind of think the horse is coming out of some tougher races. If she can get back to the race 2 back, where she won a stakes at Belmont, New York bred stakes, if she runs that kind of race, I kind of think they're running for second. Last time out, kind of caught a sloppy track. I know the horse has a win over a sloppy track, but it rained really hard at Saratoga that day. It was really a mess. I don't know. Ran okay, still got second, but I don't think that was her best effort. By the way, this horse has had an off track 4 straight races. Finally, it gets back to a fast track. The last time she was on a fast track, it was a maiden claimer at Aqueduct, but she did win. So I kind of like the horse getting back to fast track. I also looked at the race setup again and thought, man, there's a lot of speed in here, and I think the 2 can kind of sit the trip and come on from off the pace with Irad Ortiz aboard and win. So that's why I went with the 2 on top. I'll let you go now with your points.
So, and that's the thing. You kind of brought up the sloppy, muddy. I mean, in 4 wet dirt races, she's never finished worse than second. And some of they weren't like 2-3 horse fields, 7, 6, 4, 7. Yeah, so one was 4. But I mean, and mind you, she was 1 to 5, so she was supposed to win. I mean, we really have no idea how she's going to do on a fast track, because the last time we saw her was a maiden claiming 25. She was 1 to 2 on that day. So, yeah, she deserves to be the favorite. Irad Ortiz getting aboard for the 4th straight time. It makes plenty of sense. I'm not doubting that. But then if we look at the 3, the 4, and the 6, all coming out of that non-winners of 1 and all that language at the allowance level. So how are we supposed to know who takes the next step up? I don't know. Usually when I go deep, to be honest, it's more so because I see on a horse's best day, him, her, young, old, like on their best day, can they win? I don't know. All these horses are coming out of literally the same races, the same level. I haven't, except for the 6, it was 90,000 because the purses at Saratoga are better. It's the same condition though. I have no clue if any of these horses can make it 2 in a row. And to be honest, with the 2 last time out, she probably should have won because of her wet dirt pedigree. So we have the question of the morning line favorite. We have the 3, the 4, and the 6 that are all coming out of the same spot. I don't think I've been this confused about this short of a field in quite a long time. Now, especially regarding those 4. Again, I wouldn't bet the 1 Benji Hernandez if you gave me free money, and I wouldn't bet Jalen Samuel if I found the money on the street. So we're down to 5, and I want to use Lescano, but she wasn't good enough to compete with Betsy Blue. So that eliminates her. I don't think I have question marks about any of them, but I'm also extremely tentative on them as well. And that's why I'm kind of nervous. Yeah, I mean, I'm confused every day also, just on a personal note. But that, I mean, seriously, right? Like I don't think I've ever seen 3 horses all moving up while I think the morning line favorite's vulnerable. Now, the 2 might just run everyone off their feet, and then I'm wasting my time saying this, but before we move on, like, how would I throw it to you? I know you're between the 2 and the 6, and maybe that's the Jose Ortiz factor, but out of the 3, 4, and 6, Wayne Potts is clearly the worst trainer of the 3, unfortunately. Not here to, say anything negative, but that's just the way it is. But you're getting the best rider. So it's just extremely tough. Did you consider the 3 and the 4 if we're considering the 6, unless the time form numbers are much different?
I considered all of them, honestly, other than maybe the 1. I mean, the 3 got a shot, no doubt. I mean, this horse, has a couple wins in a row, like you said. But it's just like, there's so many other better riders in here, and the race is just so even that the riders may make the difference, and I was a little worried about that. The 4, Trini Luck, looked really good last time out, right? But does the Belmont form transfer to Saratoga? It's a very different configuration. Horse does not look real good before that race. Rudy, he's kind of been cold. Then he won a grade 1 Saturday, so, you don't really know what to make of him either. These first 2 races kind of felt the same to me, kind of just a mishmash of anybody can win them. Hard to have a real hard stance on it. I mean, you went deep in the first 2, and I think it's the right strategy. I think you got to go deep in these first 2 races, and then we're going to get some horses here that we can rely on in the last 2. I mean, I mean, by the way you structured it, that's exactly how you saw it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's our segue into race 9, but I don't have anything. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add to race 8. So yeah, I mean, just as a alluding to the last 2, you're right. I think these 2 are, first of all, we have some scratches to say I'll let you talk about, but yeah, it definitely looks on paper that way in terms of it was a lot easier these last 2.
Yeah, so race 9 is the Mahoney Stakes, $120,000 purse for going 5.5 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds. We do have some scratches. The 4, 5, 6, and 9 are all out, so it leaves us with a field of 5. I think we saw this race absolutely the same. I want to hear kind of what your thoughts are. I went very short here as well after the scratches, and it looks like you have as well.
Yeah, I actually, for the record, I did include Jackson Traveler originally because I thought he was extremely interesting. He lost to Golden Pal in his only turf race. I mean, finished third. Wasn't even like not respectable at all. And then we had the MTO and then 2 others who I kind of thought were touch interesting. I'm not sure how we're supposed to beat this one horse, to be quite honest with you. Wesley Ward had this horse compete against Golden Pal, which back in November, so his final race of 2020, which tells me one of 2 things. One, he was good enough in Wesley's opinion to have him compete against what I've been saying is Wesley's best horse ever. I think Golden Pal is truly his best and most talented horse ever. And I think it'd be that way for a lot of trainers, to be quite honest with you. This horse is as close to a sure thing as we probably have in the sport. The second thing is that was his final race. I think that's probably going to be the toughest race that he runs, honestly, facing his stablemate. And you could see how he's bounced back. The William Walker was tough. Field Day's a nice horse, and so is Bodenheimer. But it was off the layoff, so I wasn't even concerned about that. If they were to run the William Walker right now, I think he would be much better. He's he won that allowance race and then won down at Ellis Park on July 4th. You're not going to get, I don't know, like 7-2. I think that says up there. It's covered by the logo. You're not getting to. I mean, this horse will be what, 4-5? I mean, maybe 3-5. Like, it's Wesley Ward. The other horse I did want to mention before I let you talk about that horse is Momos. I thought this horse was a touch interesting. Also faced Golden Pal, actually beat this one into the Sunrise. It's interesting, right? There's not a ton of turf pedigree. Distorted Humor can run, Spikestown can run, but it's not overwhelming type of pedigree. I guess you could say the one into the Sunrise isn't overwhelming turf pedigree either, but we'll leave that to Wesley Ward. This horse has yet to finish better than second on the turf, but his turf races haven't been bad. I mean, they've been against tougher runners. So I just thought it was interesting, and he should be on the lead, right? In what kind of looks like a paceless turf sprint, I hate to say. He's supposed to be on the lead, which would require Into the Sunrise to go get him, or which one takes that path, right? Breaking from the outside is going to be better, but is Momos really breaking from the outside? Because it's going to be the number 7 from the 4 post. This is incredibly, incredibly difficult. I'm just happy Fauci didn't scratch, because that horse has more scratches than races run. So congrats to their farms and the connections for keeping this one. I kind of saw it as a 2-horse race between the 1 and the 7, even though I do think the 1's going to win.
It definitely feels like the 1 and the 7 are just going to kind of run in a race of their own. I think, the last time we referred to that was Jackie's Warrior, when him and Drain the Clock kind of they were just in a race of their own. They were going fast early in that Woody Stevens, but nobody else really wanted to run with them. They just kind of were by themselves. I can see that happening here. I can see how some people read into the 1 and 7 and say, boy, they may hook up and set it up for a closer. I guess that's not impossible, but I don't see it happening, only because I just think they're the 2 better horses in the race. I'm with you. I think if Manny Franco wants to try to turn it into something like that, I think Irad will just take up and sit off. He's done that before with speed horses with success. I think he's pretty good rider in that kind of situation when he sees that unfolding. I just don't see a situation where they're going to go head and head early on and set it up for closer. I trust Into the Sunrise a little bit more. That's why I picked the horse to win. Two very good races in a row. I'm with you. The first race of the season, tough race, wasn't, just didn't run very well, but has come back and really looked like his old self the last couple starts. I think this horse is pretty decent. We talk about on the Rocket Hour a lot. turf winning margins, if you win by a length or two, that's a pretty big margin in a turf race. So for this horse to win by a length and a half and a length and a quarter against pretty decent competition, maybe facing a little bit tougher today, but not much when you think about it. Once you get past Momos, there's not a whole lot in this race, right? Like if we're going to rate stakes races on the turf sprinting, this might be like a 3 or a 4 when it comes to depth, right? There's not much here.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I do want to talk about the 8 a little bit. And that's more so, well, first of all, it's a Wesley Ward. Make what you want of John Velasquez. I've been pretty tough on him. You haven't been quite as tough on him. And I'm not being tough on him because I don't think he's good. I just think he's not as good as he used to be. He's not in his prime. That's fine. And it's also, he's not getting the mounts. He's not, that's fine. But this horse is interesting, right? We haven't seen this horse on the turf since the Atlantic Beach Stakes at Aqueduct back in November. Runs in the inaugural stakes at Tampa on the dirt, and then we don't see him. Now Wesley Ward's willing to keep this horse in the field against his other horse. Now, granted, the 5 Fire Sword was a main track only, so that horse wasn't going to run. But you have 2 Wesley Ward runners in, and there's an S in your past performances. The S denotes a supplement, which means they paid to, extra money or made an extra payment. I don't know how that works. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They made sure that they can get this horse into the field. What did you think of this horse? Now, for me personally, the layoff was just too much, and I think the 1 and 7 are a little bit faster. But at the right price, maybe you get 3 or 4 to 1. That's not going to be horrible.
So here's what's interesting about Wesley Ward. When they were at Belmont, he put Johnny V on some really good 2-year-olds, and Johnny V was kind of like the quote unquote A rider for Wesley, right? Mm-hmm. Get up here, and it's like I don't see that happening as much. But yeah, having Johnny Velasquez aboard a Wesley Ward horse, I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't see it. I think he's going to have a form reversal to win here. It's also off a long layoff. It is first time with Wesley Ward, and that's usually a pretty good sign, or not a good sign, but a pretty good percentage. I don't see it though. I mean, did you consider? I mean, going 3 deep and adding this horse, or was it just like, ugh, I can't do it?
Well, I was never going to go 3 deep in here because of the lack of field size. I just don't think that makes sense. So what I was going to do, I ended up putting this horse 4th, but this is the horse, like, I only put Fauci 2nd because I love teasing, because I'm sure it's just me. I wouldn't recommend you. I think you can get away with the 1 and the 7, but I was highly considering just going 1-8 and saying I'll just play the Ward runners and not using the 7. Because, again, I don't think going 1-7-8 makes sense in terms of your ticket. Because my ticket goes from $40 to $60. So I just didn't think it made sense from that end. Again, if you want to play it, fine, but you're going to be taking 3 short prices. You're not going to get a long price in a 5-horse field unless Into the Sunrise just gets bet down to 3 to 5, which I just don't anticipate. I'm seeing more 4 to 5 even money. I see Momo's probably like 6 to 5. Something like that. Just spitballing here. And Arrest Me Red is probably going to be like 3 to 1, 7 to 2, which in that case, it's like you're buying 3 horses, praying the one loses, and that's just not a position I want to be in.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. I also, and some people, that on the Racing Dudes team subscribe to this, some don't. I'm on the don't side. I don't see a race where there's 2, trainer enters 2 horses and think I have to play them both. I'll play them both if they look like they fit, but I don't really subscribe to I got to play them both. Why has he got that one in there? I just tend to try to trust the handicapping part of it more than that. But some people do, and some people have cashed some nice tickets on it. I think your strategy is right. You play the 1 and the 7, or you play the 1 and the 8. You just say, hey, you know what? Ward's going to win this one. I'm going to play them both and take my chances, But I'm with you. I would rather have the 7. I just think the 7's a better horse than the 8. So that's what it came down with for me.
Yeah, I guess we could wrap it up. The only way you want to play 1 and the 8, and more so, I should have mentioned this before. If you think the 7 and the 1 are just going to burn each other out, and the 8 just hits off. If that's your thinking, then you might as well just single the 8. No, I'm being serious, because if you think if you see it, and I'm not saying I do or you do, but if someone sees it that the 1 and 7 are going to burn each other out, then you might want to start looking at some longer shots. Again, I'm with you. I never subscribe to that theory where you have 2 speed balls, one is going to take up. It almost always happens. If you put 100 situations like that, 90 to 95% of the time, one takes up or pulls up or stays back. They never, ever go head to head. It's very, very rare. Or one just out kicks the other, whether they pull up or one out kicks. Either way, it's kind of the same thing. I guess we could talk about the Whitney a little bit. It's like Nick's Go was going and Swiss Skydiver had to pull up because she wouldn't have finished the race. She would have been fifth by 50 had she gone with Nick's Go. So I granted that this is a 5.5 sprint, so it's different, but I'm with you. If you think that's going to happen, then he might as well not play either of them. So I don't think that's going to happen at all.
I got a question before we go on that Jason asked. With the heat index going over 100 today, do you think, or do you look at horses just prior to the race to see how they're handling it? I think this is a good question. Go ahead. You go first.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the way I play, you're kind of screwed. If you're playing a multi-race sequence, it's unfortunate. You just have no idea, to be quite honest with you. And you're never going to find the information of how they did when it was this hot out. The only way you can do that, like, for example, I know like on YouTube, you can watch like Saratoga live and they show you the whole show. Yep. Chances are they're just going to show you the replay. So how are you supposed to get that information? If you are like the way Aaron plays race by race, I definitely think that has something to do with it. But with that being said, you better be sure, because there are some horses that sweat a lot before. Like, just like some athletes, there are a lot of athletes get that sweat, like they're dripping in sweat before games. Some guys aren't. It's just like some horses. So if you play the way I play, you're honestly kind of screwed. I don't know how else to say it. If you're the way Aaron plays me, it's definitely something to consider. I wouldn't put a ton into it.
I would, Jay says race by spaces. Here's what I would do. Seriously. There's 2 people up there at NYRA who are around these horses every time they run. It's Maggie Wolfendale and it's Acacia Courtney. Both of them have notes of, oh, this horse sweat, back in June. And so now maybe the horse is sweating again, but it's not the temperature, just the horse sweats every day. They'll kind of tell you they're pretty good about giving that indication of what they're seeing. I would listen to those 2. I think they definitely have that kind of information down more than the rest of us, and that's why they're employed by NYRA, among other reasons. But that's one of the reasons. Let's say they do a great job of it. I've heard Maggie say before, oh, this one's sweating, that doesn't look good. And then she'll go, but here's this one, he or she's doing the same thing, but she did that last time out and she won. And maybe, I think of off the top of my head, like Shackelford, the horse sweat no matter what. It just looked like he had just got in a bath every time he'd run, but it didn't bother him. That was just normal for him. So listen to those 2. I definitely recommend you listen to those 2. And they'll see other things as well sometimes that kind of give you a pause for concern. So they're kind of the experts on that. And that's who I would lean on. All right, let's go to the 10th race. Good question, by the way. Let's go to the 10th race. Maiden claiming for New York Breds, 40,000, kind of our typical finishing race. But you know what, Ricky, we've been doing pretty well on these. We haven't seen the bombs come in. Maybe I just jinxed it. Mile and 16th here. Like I said, maidens, 3-year-olds and up, fold in New York. Full field of 12. Huge standout favorite here. I see you went 2 deep, so you can go ahead and talk about your 2.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add on the real quick on the Maggie and Acacia point, they always point something out you probably haven't considered. And people who don't do that on purpose, I don't get. It's just more information that you could have. I have no idea. I mean, let's be realistic. The 4 is supposed to win. I mean, we've just seen this horse too many times fail, but that was at maiden special weight level. So you have this is your inner predicament, right? When we don't know, we're not Chad Brown, we're not Wise Racing. I don't know. We're not the connections. Is this just a herd animal? So no matter what, he's going to run with the other horses, or is it he just happened to not be good enough? I don't know. If you say he's not good enough, then this horse is going to win by 1,000 lengths. to be quite honest. Like, I'm being serious. This horse will win by 10. If you're subscribing to the herd theory, then he's gonna play down to his competition. It's just like teams, right? Some in sports, some teams play really, really well when they get the best opponents, and sometimes they have a stinker when they play someone bad because they're looking ahead, or they're patting themselves on the shoulders, or everyone's telling them how great they are. I don't know the answer, and that's why I went too deep. I thought the other one to use was the 8 Ghostmon. Finished second at 1-2 at this level. So he's the most likely winner if the 4 doesn't show up. If the 4 shows up, you don't really have to watch the race, to be quite honest with you. And I think that's why Aaron's got a $20 win bet, which I think is the most you've ever had on this show. Oh no, you've had higher than that?
Yeah.
Oh, Golden Pal maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's been other ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there have been other ones, but 20 is definitely on the higher end for you in terms of the way we play it. I mean, I don't have anything else to add. We could talk about a few others, but I'm not going to waste my time. I think the 4 and the 8 are clearly the 2 best horses. And again, the 4 is supposed to beat this field by open lines.
So I'll put this comment up to kind of, oh, good. It covers your face. Even better. Good job. Write longer comments like Dennis has here. I'm just kidding. He's with the 8 as well. I think there's a ton of value in the 8. He talks kind of about Irad, almost won this one last time out at this level on the horse. Has to ride, obviously, for Chad Brown. Here's my problem, and I'll take it off so we can see Ricky's pretty face. Here's my problem with the 8 over the 4. And I get why you both want to play the 8 because the price is going to be there, and that's what this is all about. I get it, and I'm not talking you off of it as far as taking a shot. As far as me just picking a winner in the race, we've seen the 8 at the maiden claiming ranks 4 times. And he has a very similar running pattern as far as finishing second and third at the claiming ranks as Clever Fellow does at the maiden special weight ranks. And that is in my opinion, a massive, massive difference. This is a huge drop in class for me for Clever Fellow, the 4 horse, into the claiming ranks for the first time. I'm with you. I understand the horse has finished second and third, one too many times to get real excited about it. This horse is facing much, much weaker competition. Another big thing, and this was the big thing that kind of said, no, I'm not going to go against him. He can be forwardly placed. Like, this horse should probably be in second and third. Sometimes when you think of these maidens that they drop down and they get beat in the claiming ranks for the first time, they're way out of it every time, and they just kind of come with the run no matter who they're up against. That's not really the case. This horse can sit second, third, stalk the pace. I just don't see how they beat him. I really don't. I think it's a single. I think the 4 gets it done here. I just couldn't make a case to play against him.
No, I mean, again, the 4 is supposed to win. I'm not sitting here and say he's supposed to be the most clear-cut winner on the card. Absolutely. If you subscribe to trends, which I try not to, there have been too many times where Chad Brown short prices have failed at this meet. Now, that's not to say it's going to happen here, and that's not to say you have to, but from someone who's followed it just as closely as you have, every race, all meet, that theory is just sticking in my mind. And maybe I need one of these horses to just run off the screen, and then I can let go of it. There's a reason I'm using the horse. It's not like I'm trying to, make up some crazy angle. So, for example, if we scroll down to the 10, I think the 10 is 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I take the 10? Like, the 10 is dropping in class. 3-1, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The 4 already beat the 10 last time out. So what the heck would I be doing betting the 10? This is the theory that I subscribe to, one of my biggest theories. If you think the 4 is a standout, which you do, so do I, but if you think the 4 is vulnerable, more like I do, why would you do it with a 3-1 horse that already lost? I'll do it with a horse that hasn't tried or hasn't faced him yet at a much better price with quality connection. That's just where I'm at. Like, if you want to beat the 4, I'm not doing it with the 10. That's just where I'm at. Who's a shorter price. Yeah, you're getting Jose Ortiz, but the 4 already beat this horse. Even though they both didn't graduate, they already lost.
Yeah,
it's just one of those types of things. It was the same thing with Drain the Clock back in the Woody Stevens It's like we hadn't seen Drain the Clock. Jackie's Warrior had already beaten some of those. We hadn't seen Drain the Clock face him yet, and that's why you were able to get like 6 or 7 to 1. I usually stay away from such huge drops, but this Saratoga horse is already there. You know what? The 4 is Wise Racing. I don't know much about Wise Racing, but maybe they're just dying to get a win at this meet. Is that possible? I don't know how many other runners they've had, but that is a huge theme at Saratoga. It's a huge theme at Keeneland as well. So people or connections are dying to get wins at this meet. It's certainly possible. Again, I mean, the 4 is supposed to win and run off the screen. That's what's supposed to happen. You know,
it's certainly a win, a drop to get a win, in my opinion. I mean, Wise Racing, listen, they have no wins this year, so they're looking to get a win. They're 0 for 10. It's not like they've ran a ton of horses, but they're 0 for 10. This is not a situation where they're trying to get rid of the horse per se. They're trying to get a win. I truly believe that. So, I just think it's going to be pretty tough. We got a question about the pick 6 and races 5 and 6 from Manu. Let's do this. Let's sum up our tickets, and then we'll quickly talk about race 5 and 6 because we have a tiny bit of time. We're not going to go into it in depth, but just real quickly. So go ahead, Ricky. Sum up your ticket first.
Okay. So I'll start in race number 7. I thought this was the more wide open one. It was 2. I went 2, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that's 5 horses. I just thought Aaron's horse, the 11, was going to be tough. But I just think this is really interesting. You have the 2 who really improved off Orlando Noda in the first time out. I expect her to maybe take a step up. And I think you can make a case for a bunch as well who've all competed at this level. Then I went to the 2, 3, 4, 6. The 2 was the horse. Again, with all the muddy, sloppy form, if it was raining outside, I'd probably drive to Saratoga to bet this horse myself. The 3, 4, and 6, though, are all graduating from that non-winners of 1, other than all that crazy language that's thrown in there. We don't know if any of them can take a step up and make it 2 in a row. Then I went with the 1 and 7. That's the Wesley Ward and Momos. These 2 are much better. And the Into the Sunrise for Wesley Ward is the better than Momos, in my opinion. I think Aaron agrees. But I'm not as comfortable singling there. And then the last one, the 4 for Chad Brown, supposed to run off the screen. Absolutely. But I think the 8 is interesting if the 4 were to not show up. So that ticket goes 5 by 4 by 2 by 2. And that is a $40 ticket, pick 4, 7 through 10.
Yeah, I think you played it right. And Manu, we're going to get to your question in just a second, and I'm going to try to explain why I want to bring it up because I think it's good for kind of like betting structure anyway. But I'll go through mine. Race number 7, I took a shot with the 11, just trying to get a little bit of a price here to start it, but just $5 to win. Not too excited about it. Race 8, $10 to win on the 2. I think it's a wide open race, but hopefully the 2 catching that fast track will work. Race 9, $10 to win on the 1. I really like the 1 in that spot. I think this horse is going to be the speed of the speed and get the job done. And with Irad aboard, even if they need to sit off for a little bit, they can do so. And then race number 10, I think the 4 is a lock. I think the 4 just needs to show up with a normal effort and it's over. So $20 to win on the 4 to round it out. Now, this is why I kind of wanted to get to this point. So Manu says, I hate to finish a pick 6 with a single, but I need a single or 2 to play it. I know this is a pick 4 show, but who do you really like in the 5th and the 6th? Here's the deal. You have to play what the sequence dictates. So you may say, I don't want to end this with a single, but in the last race, if that's your best shot is the 4 in the sequence, you gotta single the 4. I mean, I can't give you a single in the 5th and the 6th because I don't think there is one. I don't know if you agree or not. I mean, is there anybody in the 5th and the 6th where you would want to go short in?
I'm not going to reveal what I used in tickets, but I agree with your sequence, your thinking there. I don't have a single for sure. There's one thing I do want to add that some people, the racing dudes, don't subscribe to, and I'm not going to mention names. We talk about multi-race sequences in terms of in terms of hedging, right? Well, if you didn't include, some people say if you didn't include that horse on your ticket, you didn't like them to begin with. So why would you hedge now? I don't know if you subscribe to that theory. I don't know if even what I just said makes sense. I hope it does. I don't subscribe to that theory in terms of I don't mind hedging, and here's why. For example, we just talked about the 4, and Manu, I hope I said that right. Manu doesn't want to end on a single, right? So say your ticket's $144. I don't know. I'm making it up. Say it's $120. If you were to add another horse, you have to double it. So if it was 120, it becomes 240. Well, what if you thought 2 horses were interesting and you see the tote board and you don't want to be shut out with nothing? You can play a couple $20 win bets, and now it's 160 as opposed to 240. So I'm not opposed to the hedge. If you think I'm not saying you hedge every time. Or Aaron, what if your payout to the 4 in a pick 6 is a couple $1,000s? God forbid you used an extra 40 or 50. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I don't subscribe to that. I'm not saying you play every horse just in case. But if there was 1 or 2 that could change your ticket from 150 to 300 or 450, if you get to that final spot, you might want to throw a few extra dollars just in case it doesn't pull through. And then if you say, well, okay, I didn't have it anyway. Well, there's a big difference between spending an extra 150 and an extra 25. So I don't subscribe to the don't hedge theory. Don't hedge if you didn't like those horses and you're just trying to pick a few to have more action. If you did think they were interesting and they were going to blow up your ticket, mind you, this is a $1 wager. This is not a 20-cent wager. I just want people to keep that in mind. I don't subscribe to it. That's just the way. I don't know if you do or not. I just thought that was interesting.
In this situation, I get what you're saying, Manu. You don't want to get to the last race and get beat after being alive, and you know you got 2 hours, let's say, of action, and you're alive, and then the last race you get beat. You want to get to that last couple of legs and have bullets. It just doesn't set up that way today. Let's take Nick's Go, for example, in the Whitney. You know, again, you needed to go. Bam, right there. That's where your single was in that late pick 5, right? That's the one. So it's set up the same way. It's like, I gotta get to that horse. And so that's how I would structure it today. I would think everything about, I need to get to this horse and I need to be alive to this horse. And then like Ricky said, you've got options depending on your payouts. If you're alive to the 4 and it's paying $400, well, then maybe just ride it out with the 4. But if you've got a $1 or $2 grand ticket available here, you can afford to spread a little bit and hedge a little bit on some of these other horses, but you got to play how it dictates. And really the 2 most singleable horses today, I don't know if that's a word, but I'll use it, is the 1 in the 9th and then the 4 in the 10th in the pick 6. I don't want to single a horse in the 5th or the 6th race just because I want to spread later, just because I want to feel safer. That's the point. If there was a single in the 5th or the 6th, I definitely would tell you, but I just don't think there is.
No, exactly. And the pick 6s are really tough here because they're $1. And that's where mostly my theory comes in. Again, I try to play the pick 6 tickets for like 120, 140 when I put them out there. I understand not everyone can play like a $300, $400 pick 6, and I wouldn't even recommend doing that. But at the same time, it's like, again, you add that another horse, it's going, I'm not going to get through all the math, but if you just add 1 more to a single, it's double what it was before. That's a massive difference. Not everyone can afford to just double what it was going to be going into it. And yeah, it just happens to be in this sequence that if you wanted to go with your singles, it's probably, in our opinions, it's 9 and 10, most likely 10. So that's just the way it is. Because what if this maiden claiming race was thrown in the 5th? We'd probably tell you to highly consider singling in the 5th. So, or the 6th or 8th or whatever the heck it was. So that's, to Aaron's point, yeah, it's just a matter of where they put these races. Unfortunately, NYRA has this grand scheme of let's putting these maiden claimers at the very end. I don't know why, but they've been doing it for a long time now.
Yep, that's definitely true. They do it forever. So, all right. Let's do this. Let's promote what's going to happen at noon today. The Dudes Who Bet sports show is going to happen at noon today. It'll be the first show. Magic wants to know, how about those Nebraska jerseys? Will they be discussed on today's Dudes Who Bet? And then Jason says, it's got to be a joke, right? It is a joke. Just spoiler alert for everybody. I'm going to share them right now. I've got them pulled up. Give me just a second here. It is a joke. I can actually explain the joke. Okay, so this Twitter person here, Tattoo Baker, he's a huge Oklahoma fan. He's a huge Oklahoma Baker Mayfield fan. He puts out this tweet. He says, sources, Nebraska to unveil Little Red alternate uniforms versus Oklahoma September 18th. This guy trolled a lot of people with little blue check marks on Twitter. There were journalists retweeting this as, oh, please tell me this isn't real. It was hilarious to watch this. If you're an OU fan like I am, you followed this account forever. So the point is, if you put sources and you're anybody, people will believe it. So this is what he says Nebraska's wearing on September 18th. Rest easy, Nebraska not wearing these, but I thought this was hysterical.
Well, look, I don't even know. I'm going to look like an idiot here. But I'm not going to lie. I thought that was real.
But, well, everybody did because people picked it up. Like it spread like wildfire.
No. Well, you know what the crazy thing is? I could actually see them wearing these. That, you know what I'm saying? Like, if, for example, if they're wearing little red, if it's called like the little red uniforms and it was green and pink, I'd be like, what the heck is this? But the color scheme is right. It looks exactly like their ridiculous blow-up doll mascot that they got in the background there. I thought this was real. I almost sent this to you and said, whoa, this is interesting. To your point, though, it makes sense that he's an Oklahoma guy because they're playing Oklahoma. Okay. Well, let's break this down. First of all, Doug Gottlieb and Danny Cannell might be the two most gullible human beings when it comes to sports talk. But yeah, I believed it. I'll be the first to admit. I almost sent this to you, and I was like, what do you think Oklahoma's going to counter with? Now, question. I should have done this. But I didn't know in advance, and I'll throw it to anyone else out there. What if I just sent you a picture of the uniforms and it didn't show you who tweeted this? You might have fallen for it too.
No, I wouldn't have, because Nebraska.
Yeah. Right.
No, because I know Nebraska. They would never do this.
Oh, you know them, right? You and the AD are probably like that.
No, there's no way Nebraska would ever do this. If you don't understand. Well, I'm not gonna insult you, but I'm just saying I know Nebraska would never do anything like this.
Well, no, you can insult me. That's okay. You insult me every day. What would be the difference?
I'm being serious. I know Nebraska would never do this. They haven't fallen that far where they're going to stoop to that. And actually, they have fallen that far.
Yes, they have.
They're not going to admit to themselves they've fallen this. This is
okay.
In their minds, they're still a blue blood football program. They're not, but in their minds, they are. They're not going to ever wear anything like this.
I'm on board with everything you just said. But if I had sent you that picture with nothing, you would have thought about it for at least a quarter of a second. Okay. No. So I can't. So for the record, for everyone watching, I'm going to do something like this with not Nebraska. There's going to be another school. I don't know who it's going to be yet. I'm going to have to find it, and I'm just going to send it to you. But then, and we're going to see your immediate reaction. And I'm going to put it live right here. So you're not going to be able to see it. And it's not going to be Nebraska. I can't guarantee it's going to be Nebraska.
Here's the deal. If you are involved with college football as I am, you know what schools would do stuff like this and what won't. Nebraska just won't. First of all, there's nobody creative enough at Nebraska to even come up with something like this. That's number one.
They're conservative. I get what you're saying. They're a conservative
bunch. Like Penn State. You're not going to see them. I mean, they may alter the uniform, but you're not going to see them make huge alterations like this. Oregon, Oklahoma State, Baylor, teams like that, sure.
But basically what you're saying is cool teams with cool offenses and creative schemes. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm exactly with you.
I mean, I'm what I'm saying is, yeah, I mean, the more modern college football teams. Yeah, it's you're just not going to get Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Alabama, LSU. They're not going to do this. They're just not ever. But yeah, for sure. Yeah, like Jay said, like Michigan, they're not going to do much different.
Well, you know what's funny? With all the schools you just brought up, except for Alabama, they all have the most boring offenses of all time for the most part. Literally, and it's Notre Dame, Penn State, they're all these grinded out teams. Texas is a little different. I don't know what's been going on there. But Nebraska, same thing. They still think it's a 6-3 year. Or when you only win by field goals. They don't know what touchdowns are. So you're right. All the cool modern schools that are doing crazy things, well, shocker, kids go there and they score points.
Yep.
I mean, Oklahoma is probably somewhere in the middle. Like they have some old traditional stuff, but they also have new modern stuff. I mean, they just went to Jordan. So, you know what I mean? Like these cooler new, I'm not saying it's got to be that way to win. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like, you're right. Nebraska's still their old white and red uniforms with the same old gross Adidas logo that they've had for forever. And it's boring football. They haven't been exciting since Taylor Martinez played quarterback, which I don't know how many years ago that was.
They weren't that exciting then either. When Sue was there, they were good then.
Oh, you're right. When Sue played Texas in the championship game, that was like 2013, maybe 2014, and he was stepping on people in college. That's that's when it was exciting. Right, it was exciting because he was hurting people.
Well, I didn't say they were exciting. I said they were good. They were pretty decent. Right. Yeah, the Bo Pelini years when he had him and a good defense. Anyway, final thought. They are fake, but I love it. Regardless, it's great. Nebraska. Go ahead.
Opening day, Nebraska, I think, is playing UCLA. Week 0. I'm pretty sure that is the first college football game of the year, I think. So that's just another side note as well.
USC would wear gold pants with a red thong before Nebraska would do this.
Since Clay Helton doesn't really seem to know what he's doing, I probably
USC, that's a big year for USC. A very big year. We'll see what happens there. Travers Day, actually college football opens with like 5 or 6 games, and you can get those right on the website, racingdudes.com/sports. We'll have previews for all those games on opening Travers weekend. So I probably will not look at those because it's Travers weekend, but my dad will be doing that. The Big Ten, speaking of the Big Ten West previews are out on the website, so you can go check those out as well today. I think Friday, the Big 12 comes out, and then over the weekend, the SEC will come out. So, that's going to do it. I got to go, and you know why? I got another show to do in about an hour. That's right. 1 p.m. Eastern, the debut of the Dudes Who Bet sports show will happen. We're excited for it. So come back here 1 hour from now and check that out. We're going to be talking about Nebraska's uniforms. We're going to be opening up the show, kind of give you a little background on ourselves and why we feel like we can do this show and are equipped to do the show. And then we're going to talk conference realignment and get all into that on the opening show. So make sure to check that out. Go ahead.
I have one request. And maybe it's going to fall on deaf ears since I'm making the request. Whenever you have a guest, I would like to be the first one. It might be in 6 months. It might never happen. You might never have a guest. I'm just asking if you do. I would like to be the first one to bash Syracuse football. If you're going to bash Syracuse football, let me be in on the conversation. But yeah, it's up there, racingdudes.com/sports. It's going to be fun. I'll be tuning in. I want to hear I don't know if too bad it's still going to be not the Halterman hour. I was really hoping I can get a push. But no, it's cool. You got a lot of stuff going on. You got another show today. You got Blinkers Off tomorrow. You got the Rocket Hour tomorrow. Have you thought about, before we go, your guest for Friday, since I'm officially going to be driving to Saratoga?
Ooh, that's right. I do have to get a guest Friday. No, have not thought about it. I'll think about it after this sports podcast. That's where I've been putting all my focus in. So
what is the rundown? Real quick, what is the rundown? Are we going to be talking week 0 games, or is this just like a preview on conferences? Or do you guys not know where it's going to go yet? You're just going to throw it up in the air and see what happens?
Well, so the first 3 shows here is. Oh, hi. I think Magic wants to be on the show. Is that what he's saying? Okay, we might do that. So the first 3 shows, we got the one today, conference realignment. Just this one today is an introduction. and conference realignment. We've really wanted to talk about that. We really are immersed and know a lot about it because of the logo on my shirt here. And I think we can give some good insights to people on what's happening now and what's going to happen in the future with college football and college athletics in general. So that's the first show. We're going to go preseason top 25 college football next week. So it'll be a big college football preview show. Then the next week, we're going NFL preview, big NFL preview show, and we'll talk about the opening weekend of games. And then when we get into the football season, it'll be kind of a blinkers off-ish type of feel, meaning we'll have a Thursday show. We'll cover 3 or 4 of the biggest games, and we'll give our picks and kind of analysis for 3 or 4 big games. And then Dad and I will pick a couple of other games, whether they be long shots, whether they be our locks, and we'll talk about those as well. And then probably on Monday, after all the action, we'll come back and kind of recap what's happened and what we saw, and then talk about the Monday Night Football game. So 2 shows a week when the season starts, and those shows will all be focused on picks and games and breaking down the games, where these first couple ones are previews because we really don't have any games obviously going on. And we're not really into baseball, so we're not going to lie to you and give you baseball, picks. So the first few shows will be previews of the season, and then we'll get right into the season and picking the games.
Yeah, no, that's a cool rundown to obviously have a recap of the weekend and things like that. And you could also, on your Monday recap, just do a little Monday night preview, Monday Night Football preview as well. So yeah, that'll be cool.
Yep.
So check that out at 1:00. But I guess I'll wrap it up today. Why not? I'll switch it up. That's going to
wrap it up, Ricky.
That's going to do it for us today on the Rocket Hour. Again, you see the website. Aaron's scrolling up and down a little bit. This is what racingdudes.com/sports looks like. You can obviously go to racingdudes.com and then get to it. At the top it says horses, other sports search. It's in that other sports section as well. Jason, blinkers off, Magic Mike, Rocket Hour, then this. How am I supposed to work? You just throw it on in the background. You don't have to see our ugly faces. You just put it on there and, multitask, as I like to say. Or obviously you can always catch this at night and play it at night as well. So don't think, especially with the football stuff, there's going to be stuff in advance as well. This is a little tough because we're talking about racing. But that's going to do it for us. We'll be back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time to go over our tickets. Hopefully we cash some and we put some stuff together. And we'll talk about Thursday's racing as well. Jason, the key is to do this full time. Yeah, I'm with Magic. I guess you want to be doing this full time, so your job is to watch horse racing, and I don't know. Yeah, that's gonna do it for us today. I have my article up on racingdudes.com right there as well. Aaron's got all of his stuff. There it is, right there. That's what it looks like. Great logo, by the way. Whoever put that together. But. Yeah, congratulations. You're on the team. But that'll do it for us. We'll see you tomorrow. Again, catch the Dudes Who Bet premiere at 1 p.m. Eastern, so about 55 minutes from now. We'll let Aaron go so he can prep with his dad, so that'll be fun. But we'll see you guys tomorrow bright and early at 11 a.m. Good luck if you're playing Saratoga today.